people to marry the mother of the people. Some of you want to say that, brother? That hit something? Okay. It says, and then it goes on to say Oedipus was the first one to solve the riddle of the Sphinx. It says, it goes on here, it says, discovering one who knew the answer to her riddle, the Sphinx cast herself from the cliff which bordered the road and perished. It says about the riddle, it mentions the riddle about, let me just read it, just read into the record for what it says, and we'll leave the interpretation for each and every one. Oedipus, who first solved the famous riddle propagandized by the mysterious creature with the body of a winged lion, the head of a woman, set that next to it, the body of a winged lion, the head of a woman, and frequented the highway leading to Thebes. To each who passed her lyre, the Sphinx addressed the question, what animal is it that in the morning goes on 4 feet, at noon on 2 feet, and in the evening on 3 feet? Those who failed to answer her riddle, she destroyed. Those who failed to answer her riddle, she destroyed. Oedipus declared the answer to be man himself, who in childhood crawled upon his hands and knees, in manhood stood erect, and in old age scuffled along supporting himself by a staff. Discovering one who knew the answer to her riddle, the Sphinx cast herself from the cliff which bordered the road and perished. Maybe it is that there's a mystery behind them, and we solve the mystery related to them, that their ability to hide and keep something secret would be diminished, and that this diminishing will force them to self-destruct.
Sure.
Which means there may be an active goal of figuring out just what they are and what they're doing.
Yep. Sure.
It says here, there is still another answer to the riddle of the Sphinx. Now, this is Manly Palmer Hall stuff. Best revealed by the consideration of the Pythagorean values of numbers. Of course, another stolen legacy, Pythagoras.
That's it, right. That's it.
The 4, the 2, and the 3 produce the sum of 9. Remember those 4 plus 4 and 1?
Right.
4 Greek female, 4 Greek male, 1. You know, the last of those fraternities were created in the 20s, the sororities. There's never been a 10th one, which is the natural number of man and also to the lower worlds. The 4 represents the ignorant man, the 2 the intellectual man, the 3 the spiritual man. Infant humanity walks on 4 legs, evolving humanity on 2 legs, and to the power of his own mind, the redeemed and illuminated Magnus adds the staff of wisdom. The Sphinx is therefore the mystery of nature, the embodiment of the secret doctrine, and all who cannot solve her riddle, and all who cannot solve her riddle, to pass the Sphinx is to attain personal immortality. Now that's into his description of the Greek version of the Sphinx, of which brother said there's no such thing. And that will one day lead us to find somewhere in their ritual. We believe that they'll give some honor and discussion to the use of this Grecian Sphinx to match out something or some parable that they're using internally. Now, are there any questions about the Boule? The Knights of Templars?
Yeah. Satan with his hand up like that with the pentagram.
Ah.
The White House before the cuss your throat before you become like Jesse Jackson cannot become the president.
Dig that. That's powerful. And he mentioned this about the Knights of Templar, who in 1314, their Jacques de Molay was murdered, burned at the stake. And Clinton is in the order of de Molay. He's in the senior de Molays, who is the president. And the Knights of Templar are parabled into the Skull and Bones. In Skull and Bones, they talk about the Knights and the Knights of Templar. Yes, brother.
Didn't they mention the Prière des Saints?
What does that mean?
They evolved from the Templars. Matter of fact, there's a hidden secret that they propose that has something to do with Christ, which they hold over the head of the Vatican. They control the Vatican.
Who controls the Vatican?
Prière des Saints does. That's an organization that came out of Templars. They killed the Templars, they killed them off, but what happened was a lot of the documents and the parts
That's some right
which they had got into it with the Saracens, and the Saracens first they took Jerusalem, and the order was from the at first the Pope used them to go in and get all the documents of the history and everything of what happened as far as Christ is concerned and further back. They brought all those documents back. When their usefulness was finished, that's when the Pope turned on them. But there's the kings of, I can't think of this name right now. It's Merovonian or something like that. The kings of them, which is a dynasty, that out of them came the Priere de Sion, and they keep having it. Each so many years they have the Grand Master, which the Masons sprung out from there.
Okay.
They had the Masons like over here and there, and then the Priere de Sion still originated. It's based in France.
And you know, back into that Skull and Bones thing, this was an article that appeared in the New York Times on Skull and Bones. Look at what the heading says. The tomb George Bush came from. The tomb George Bush came from. In a Sylvan pocket tucked off High Street, masked by blank slits in an ancient stone building called the Tomb, barred from the world by a padlock from on door, Skull and Bones keeps his secrets closely, but he casts a shadow across the country. Through generations, the most influential of senior societies at Yale College has been seen by outsiders as the hand that quietly, oh so quietly, guides the nation's foreign policy, intelligence apparatus, and premier banking houses. As the hand. It didn't say the group, it says the hand. And of course, there's symbolism to whose bones these are and what does that skull mean. The skull in the Templars, they would put 3 skulls on the table. In the Skull and Bones, they put skulls on the table. Yes, go ahead, brother.
The story of the Skull and Bones right here. A great lady of Marcella was loved by a Templar, a lord of Sidon, but she died in her youth. And on the night of her burial, this wicked lover crept to the grave, dug up her body, and violated it. Then a voice from the void bade him to return 9 months in time, for he was to find the son. He obeyed the injunction, and at the appointed time opened the grave again and found a head on the leg bones of the skeleton, skull and crossbones. The same voice bade him, guard it well, for it would be the giver of all good things. And so he carried it away with him. It became his protected genius, and he was able to defeat his enemies by merely showing them the magic head in due course. It passed into the possession of the order.
Blue ZX is blocking someone in.
A blue ZX is blocking someone in. All right. Now, I'm going to pass this bucket around. This is a bucket for a donation for the Good Life. And you know they've been closed selling food for a couple of hours. So they're sitting with us. I'm going to pass this around quietly. I want you to put something in it. This is for the Good Life because their people have to stay over. They have to stay over past the time they get off work to stick in here with us. Now, I want to make sure we cover them. I would much prefer to even make another passing and a half for myself. But I want to make sure we cover them, for they deserve to be taken care of. And I'm going to pass this around. You all make sure this gets to everybody. And make sure you put some in there for Boule. But I ought to tell you a story, though. I'm going to tell you a story, though. I was here talking about the Boule one night. And there was a guy in the audience from one of the fraternities. And the guy says, you know, in our history book, the Boule is mentioned on a certain page. So at the end of the night, everybody's gone. There's 3-4 of us in here. Someone's mopping the floor. And I'm on the stage bending down, putting my stuff in a neat little pile. And someone, while that mop is flinging, says, you know, that guy was right. That sure is on that one page in our book. All right. So make sure we cover the Good Life there. And isn't it nice to be in the Good Life? This is Good Life. But one thing I want to tell you, I'll get to you. One thing I want to tell you is that their use of analogies is not about good. This is about the evil prostitution. We're talking about the evil of evils. We ought to be, as a goal, as a group, trying to penetrate or find the chief of evil.
That's right.
And this chief of evil will control or have dabs on many other people who are so evil. Some who won't understand evil but do evil in support of evil things. And so we keep up the fact that they took the good things and made a bad thing with it. Now, questions. Brother right in there. Now, it's three of y'all, so y'all got to decide who's going to do it. The elder first.
Okay, I was just wondering about the Hoover's, the blacks around Hoover, like Noisette and the guy that he had to find on Marcus Garvey. Were they employed? Could you say that, I mean, was there any connection between them and Boule?
You said what guy around Hoover?
One is named Noisette, Hoover's valet, I think, and then the guy that I can't recall his name, but I know that he was sent by Hoover to infiltrate the FBI. And can you say anything about, I mean, I'm just wondering about musicians, musicians, it seems, like jazz musicians, it seems like that they're in and out of the White House all the time. What do you say about them? I mean, like Sammy Davis and Nixon.
Let me just stop you there. Let me just stop you there at that part. I really don't know about the jazz and why they're at the White House. I really don't. I have nothing I could add to that. I don't know the name that you mentioned, but because you mentioned the name, I'm going to look the name up. I'll give you a number where you can contact me and give me a little bit to get back east. I'm going to look the name up in the founding chapters and see, because the reason we keep a book from 53 or 69 and 83 is that the various books feature certain things during their era, and the guy name who he mentioned might be more highlighted in the 55 book than in the 84 book. So I'm going to look that name down for you and see if I can find some to it. Yes, brother, with that.
Yeah, Benjamin Manicure, remember the Boule? He was the same guy who laid out the plan for
No, he was not. He was higher and more direct and together than that. Brother Warren and then the brother over here.
Yeah, I wanted to mention, you might want to get a book by E.T. Bell. That was like leading this story to mathematics.
Hold on, where's that good life bucket at? Okay.
It's called the Magic of Numbers. He's talking about the Pythagoreans, which we know got their information from Kemet. The secret numbers they were worshiping, which eventually became...
Everybody take care of good life? We all straight? Never got a... Boy, that book might need another bucket. The bucket's so damn full. Look at Jay, drop the peanuts.
Theoretical physics is when you got the...
Somebody, would you just walk it over there so that they can get it? We make sure this is done. I don't want it to distract something we're talking about while we're talking. Go ahead, brother.
Yes,
Brother Warren.
the Magic of Numbers.
The Magic of Numbers by...
T. Bell of Caltech.
Okay.
And he talks about how the secret numbers that the Pythagoreans were studying, as you know, Pythagoras, so-called Pythagoras theorem is the basis of all measurements and so forth. Their numbers are the basis of where you get the H-bomb and the hydrogen bomb. And the other thing is Brother Quincy mentions Bailey, who supposedly, again, the first person who studied sine waves. And anybody knows anything about physics or mechanical engineering or optics knows that sine wave is the basis of all those science. And of course, we know where supposedly Bailey's got his knowledge. So there's a lot of stuff in Kemet being used today against us. Therefore, we have to learn it if we're ever going to defend ourselves. When they send that...
Excuse me a second. Brother, I'm going to have to take your film. And the reason I'm going to have to take it is that the rule is there's no shooting of the audience. And as you can see, these brothers don't shoot the audience. Because unless someone says it's all right with them, I don't really like that. And so I'm going to take it and fix it up for you and give it back to you. Make sure that you get the right copy of everything. But I have to protect them. Not that anything could happen to them, but as you can see, they don't do it. And they know I've argued with them. These are my friends. And we've argued, and that's just a policy that we don't like to do. There's some fresh juices coming in back there for those who are thirsty and didn't quite get to it. Yes, brother. Yes, brother, say his turn. Okay. Let me pass this across. Damn, this thing is heavy. Shit. Woo.
We went this way.
Okay, pass it back up in there. I don't think it made it back there, and then it did.
It's been around.
Okay, then let's somebody from the Good Life come and pick the bucket up. A brother asked about Carter G. Woodson and W.B. Du Bois. W.B. Du Bois was the founding member of the New York chapter in 1911. The concept of the talented Tiff developed at a speech that he gave on behalf of the Boule, which was that the Boule represented the elite of the black elite, the college-trained man. there was no other black man of influence than this emerging college-educated black man. And so this college-educated black man was put in or used by a lot of other people. W.B. Du Bois took it upon himself, and in the lecture on Black Jewish Relations, Africa 93, we talked about W.B. Du Bois' role in attacking Marcus Garvey. Well, it was deeper than we ever thought. We found out that the Harlem Renaissance, in fact, was a distraction established by Jewish philanthropy to deter Africans from back to Africa to get involved in poetry, art, science, music, as a distraction and a diversion from the goals and aspirations of Marcus Garvey. Du Bois, along with the first black Rhodes Scholar, Elaine Locke, who was 1908 to 1910. There was not another Rhodes Scholar till 1963. That Elaine Locke was a part with Du Bois of humiliating Marcus Garvey by calling them names like gorilla, dog, dumb masses, and they hedged their bet. We have found documentation where Du Bois and Elaine Locke had stated clearly that we hope this white man delivers because we've crushed a great black thing. But we know the white man will be delivered or our people will attack us and plague us forevermore. You didn't know that they played and hedged their bet that Marcus Garvey was wrong about the white man. Marcus Garvey was not wrong about the white man. And by never telling you who they are, you can never hold them responsible for the bet they made when they put the money to win on the white man. Carnegie Woodson, years after being a Boule, wrote a book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Years after having been used in the founding member of the D.C. Boule in 1908. Knew that education, see, these were college. The key to all of these men were college education. So when he saw what had happened to him, he said we were miseducated by the damn thing. It was a fix. And that was coming to expose something that he had been. Du Bois, years after being left to dry by the Boule, left to dry by the NAACP, whose leader, Joel Spingard, and his mentor had been a spy for military intelligence, which came out in the Memphis Commercial Appeal story, that showed that Du Bois, too, years later sought to repent for what he had done. But he never exposed the Boule. He only personally felt humiliated for having bet wrong. And that's why we had to know that they made a bet, that there was an organized cross-out.
So he never nullified his membership in the Boule.
He never told the secrets related to the Boule. Hold on just a second, brother. Yes, brother.
All right, what you were saying earlier at the beginning, all right, listening to all of this, and I heard you on the radio Monday morning. All right, now, this is going to be out of all of us, or even if we compare it to the mass populace, this is going to be 80% of us. And if you show them the truth and put it right in front of their face, they still are going to deny it. They ain't going to want to admit up to it. They don't give a shit about it, pardon me, ladies. They don't give a damn about none of this black stuff. I saw that looking at Minister Society. You talk black to these young kids now, I'm 40 years old. I grew up in the black movement where it was something to be proud of. How do we go about explaining this to these young gangbangers who are future warriors? Since they don't give a damn about nothing, why not channel their energy, like Farrakhan used to say, for our liberation? If you don't give a damn about dying, you make the best soldier. All right, now all of us in here, most of us are going to go out, most of us are going to forget what we've heard. Most of us are going to...
Hold it, stop now. Are you going to forget what you heard?
Oh, no, I'm not.
Then you can only speak for yourself. Don't speak against anyone else. Stop now. I want you to turn to them and tell them that you won't speak for them like you just did. Turn to them and tell them you won't speak for them like you... Because you said something negative about them.
I have no right to say that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right.
But what can we do as a unit or as a people to educate the others that maybe have not had a chance to come in here and get this knowledge that you express?
Okay. I would suggest probably at this day, which is July 6, 1993, that I could walk in most of the cities and bring you the people who had those organizations that you talked about. And right now they could stand up here and turn to you and do just what I did, because their lessons are done privately yours are done publicly. If you went to the gang summit in Kansas City, and they got through discussing, well, what are we going to do now, all that we work together? You watch the Bloods and the Crips. You watch this one and that one. From all those cities stood up and say, well, let's do what Coakley does. Let's work on those names he gave us. So I make a suggestion to you that everybody that's on it might not look like they're on it. Everybody that knows it doesn't have to say, hey, guess what? I know it. I think we want to make sure that each and every person can handle themselves. And if you can take this and teach another person, then whatever it is that's out there that another person doesn't like, which is what people do when they don't know who the enemy is, they beat themselves. Part of what we do by exposing who the enemy is we stop misplaced aggression. So we can look at the numbers and see that the crowds are increasing and more people know than they ever knew. And I think those youngsters might know more than the adults. And to tell you honestly, I place my bet on them.
That's right. That's right.
I place my bet on the little ones who don't have jobs, who didn't go to school, who don't have the cars nor the houses, because they're the ones that are going to fight. They just need to know who to fight and how to fight effectively. Now, we're not college-educated Vietnamese who dug deep holes in the grounds and live with rats, dogs and cats and worms and other things that scare Americans. I suggest to you that there are elements who are ready while we work with the masses to have them understand what they'll come to witness. You see, if you don't get this lesson to see what's going on, when it happens, you get confused and think something went wrong.
That's right.
And again, remember this. We're the horse that lays on the rail. We're not breaking ass till it says spinning out of the turn. Here's the track. We started here. Somebody say, hey, that's Billy. He's way out in front. Well, we're going to get no points for leading. But as we make it around that track, we might be laying at the road. Here comes the Boule. Here comes the Rhodes Rothschild. Here comes Skull and Bones. They're way out in front. But when that man say, here they come spinning out of the turn, then somewhere that black liberation horse going to kick ass, and from here to there, we're going to finish right. The goal is to finish first. So somewhere down the line, we're not going to look good. Because looking good is not necessarily the signal you want to send before you strike. So I tell people, you better be able to run out of your house in any of 4 directions and have someplace buried straight edges, clothes, flashlights, and other things, food that you may need. And you won't know how many people have prepared for this until you go out and dig your hole, because you might look up and not find room for your stuff. All right. Yes, brother.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think the Boule can be used in a way to manipulate the United States government, as in what they did in France in like about 1983? The Communist Party took over